Welcome to another edition of the Sales and Marketing Power Hour with your host, Carol Morgan with Denim Marketing and Kimberly Mackey with New Home Solutions Consulting.
So, and as you can see, Randy is at the Capitol. I'm coming to you from headquarters NAHB, and Mackenzie's sitting straight across from me here. We're on the 9th floor of the National Housing Center. That's always an exciting place to be. And Donna is coming to us also from Washington, D.C. So we're truly in the hotbed and the hot seats today up here. Randy and Donna have been up on the Hill this morning. So doing the Lord's work up there and trying to convince the Congress that housing is important to our economy. You'd think that would be a no-brainer, but that we need some help. Hopefully they are listening, because it is impressive. I think I read that we have about 1,000 people on the Hill today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's an impressive number. It really is. So I know the reception last night was packed. You could barely get through.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Randy, we should also congratulate Randy officially on being inducted into the Hall of Fame last night.
That's very exciting.
Thank you.
Round of
Very
applause.
big deal.
Yay.
Very, very big deal. So that's really cool. So, all right. We have somebody's note taker in here. Somebody felt it was important enough to put their fireflies in. So normally I would kick that out, but you know what? I'm gonna allow it. So
I think they should send us the notes.
So, well, my note taker is also taking notes for us. So.
Yes, I know.
All right. And there's Sandy. Oh yeah, he's in a hotbed too up there in Maryland. So this is probably a topic near and dear to his heart.
Mm-hmm.
So Sandy, are you in DC with us? So you can type it up in the chat. So, all right. In the interest of time and Randy's cell battery, yeah, let's see. Hopefully we won't lose him. So he was in the basement of the Capitol building, and the reception was absolutely horrible. So he's outside sweltering in the sun. The things you do for us, Randy, we feel the love.
Actually, it's not that hot here.
Let's get our housekeeping out of the way, and you kick us off. I know we normally start off with slides, but since we took this show on the road, I'm gonna do all of that in the post-show edits. So you will see those in the recording.
So you want me just to kick it off and introduce myself? Is that how we're starting today? All right. Well, I am Carol Morgan with Denim Marketing. Denim Marketing weaves style and storytelling into every marketing strategy, from social media to PR, blogs to email. We craft custom content for ROI-driven campaigns that fit just right. So if you are ready to button up your marketing, give us a call or visit denimmarketing.com. That's our little fun introduction. How about you, Kimberly?
All right. Well, I'm Kimberly Mackey. For anyone who doesn't know, my company is New Home Solutions Consulting, and I like to say that I'm the company you call when you want sales to be the engine that drives your train rather than running it off the tracks. So if I help builders from behind the scenes, I do management consulting. I make sure that all of your KPIs, all of your processes, your procedures support your sales efforts, and I then train your salespeople so that we're hitting those goals using all of that behind the scenes information. So if I can do a SWOT analysis for you, help you figure out this weird economy that we're in and navigate it to keep your sales on track, please give me a call. And since Mackenzie's sitting in the room with me, let's let Mackenzie from NAHB. So we got the best legal minds in the business here. So kick it off here, Mackenzie.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Payne. I'm a staff attorney here at NAHB. I focus primarily on construction liability, risk management, building materials, and insurance. I've been at NAHB for about 1.5 years. Before that, I litigated construction defect stuff. I'm happy to be here.
And can you guys hear her okay? Because
sounds great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, glad you're here, Mackenzie. Thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you so much. So, and for rescuing me today. So we're all right, Donna. My sunshine, my love, Donna. Take it away. We're so lucky to have you in the building industry.
Well, thank you so much for that. My name is Donna Barrett. I am from Charlotte County, Florida. If you don't know where that is, which most people don't, it is in Southwest Florida, directly in between Sarasota and Fort Myers, directly in between Tampa and Naples. We're the hidden little gem that the only people that can find us lately are hurricanes.
Start saying the hurricanes find you just fine.
Yeah.
Even when they miss you, they find you.
Oh, yes. We have been devastated by a couple different hurricanes, but that's okay. We are trudging along, and every day we're healing new bruises.
Very
by the way,
resilient.
I work for the Charlotte DeSoto Building Industry Association. I've been the executive there for 12 years, 13, since 2013.
Well, you knew the days yesterday. You posted on your social media, but you don't know the years.
I've been the executive officer for 4,289 days, whatever that is, to the math.
But who's counting?
That's awesome. Well, and we have Randy Noel with us, who was just inducted into the Housing Hall of Fame. So again, congratulations, Randy. Give us your quick introduction.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I'm just a home builder.
Just a home builder.
All right. Yeah, I'm just a home builder. But a marker in my life was Katrina, and got very, very involved with building codes after that. Dealt with FEMA for 3 years, and then I had Hurricane Ida that came through 3 years ago that knocked down about 3/4 of the ceilings in my house and half the ceilings in my office. So I'm very, very in tune with storms and storm damage and how to prevent it going forward because I lived it. So, and in selling houses in South Louisiana, like Florida, you clearly got to make sure that people understand that they're buying a house with the new building codes that is much, much more resilient than they had back in the 70s and 80s, which is getting reflected in our insurance premiums and our insurance escrows. So new houses are really motivated. Now, the only problem is the last 3 years, prices have gone up about 30% in the cost of construction, and that's kind of slowed everybody down. So I'm here. I know a good deal about building codes. I know a good deal about building houses to be resilient. So if you got questions, let me know.
Yeah, well, we actually want to start off with a question for you, Randy. I know you've served on the Building Code Council with NHB. Talk a little bit about the most important building code changes and trends that you've seen that help to address all these different climate challenges we have out there.
Well, I can tell you that one of the most important things that we did in the building code recently was we started taping the joints on the deck or using peel and stick on the decks. Because what happens with shingles in our climate down in the South, they're supposed to last 30 years, but they only really last 10 years. Then they started getting hard and less flexible, and the attachment points started loosening up. So you get a 130 mile an hour to 200 mile an hour blow from a hurricane or a storm, the shingles are coming off. And when the shingles come off, then comes off the underlayment, and then water pours into the house, knocks down the ceiling, and ruins all your stuff inside of the house. So now we put tape over the joints of the wood on the roof, and or we use this peel and stick stuff, which is mostly what they do in Florida, so that when you lose shingles, water's not coming in the house. And that's probably going to save people a ton of money, and in particular the insurance companies, because the losses for replacing a roof, they now do what's called a storm deductible. That deductible is about the cost of a new roof. Wow. What they didn't anticipate was the ceilings caving in and ruining all the property inside of the house. So that's probably the most important thing that I've seen stuck in the code over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Prior to that, most of the stuff was building the structure so it didn't fall down or didn't lose its decking or things like that. We've been doing that for a good now 20 years. We adopted that after Katrina. Florida, Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, they've all got pretty substantial codes for that kind of stuff. And so we're not really seeing the newer houses or any of the houses built after 2000 when the codes went in falling down. We just want to make sure that we don't lose everything on the outside of it.
And we saw that, Randy, if you remember, and Donna, when Michael I thought was probably the most dramatic one that I remember seeing, because there were so many new homes built in with the older existing when Michael came into the Big Bend. And anything that was older, anything that wasn't with the codes that we passed for Andrew was decimated, completely gone. Like, and the helicopters flying over, it was just unreal. And then the brand new homes that were built in that, standing perfectly.
We saw that with Hurricane Charlie in 2004. That knocked down a lot of homes. And even the newer codes after Hurricane Andrew, when Ian hit us, we were saying whatever Charlie missed, Ian found. Florida also builds to the Florida Building Code. And so our codes
Way
are a little
different.
bit different. And they get updated after every hurricane. So there are lessons learned through the storms. With Ian, we learned that rain doesn't fall just straight down. It comes up every side. And we had more damage with fascia and soffit. So there were a lot of codes that were changed that were not in effect yet. From, I think even Michael had seen the same on that. So there were a lot of updates. But one of the biggest updates, I think, too, in flood zone areas was FEMA 2.0. That went into effect, I believe it was December 15th of 2022. And homes now need to be raised a lot higher. In Florida, we also have what's our freeboard, which is another foot above the code. So you are seeing more homes that are hit. The one great thing with Hurricane Milton, which was the last storm to hit us, some of the homes on Ian that were replaced. The only complaint that they had was that they had no power in their homes after the storm. So while it looked like a bomb went off on their street, homes built to the newer codes, it's working.
That's fantastic. I mean, to me, that's what we should all, as new home marketers, be marketing. The fact that, you can still move to Florida, you can still move to Louisiana, you can still move all these places. You just need to buy a new home because they're built to withstand, whatever nature throws at us.
Well, and the homes that were hit, because of the 50% rule. So if a home is damaged more than 50%, then you have to build back to current rule. So if so you're seeing a lot of people who can't afford to build back, their insurance didn't cover them for that. And those that are staying are remodeling and raising, which is very interesting to see when you see a slab home, because we build on monolithic slabs in Florida, and you see a slab home being raised, sometimes up 10 feet or higher. And we're seeing, these jacks are going in if you drive through Pinellas County right now, which, St. Pete, Clearwater, over on the beach side over there, you're seeing a lot of that where they're literally raising homes up. And imagine, the expense of that versus, as a builder, we can't go in and build in a flood zone. We have to raise. You can't build. You have to build either coastal construction, which means you've raised it up and your floor height and your air conditioning and all of that is out, or we're raising for our bigger builders here. We're literally raising the dirt up and rezoning it so it becomes an X. And even in those cases, we're finding like they're going back and revising that. Are you seeing that, Donna or Randy?
So this has been a very big conversation in our area after what I call Hilton. I renamed Helene and Milton. They were 10 days apart and hit our area. So if you were damaged by both, we just call it Hilton here. But specifically within the city of Punta Gorda, which is in Charlotte County, we have historic districts. So you have people that want to or have to, by state law, look at saving that home as best as they possibly can. So they're looking at elevating. Raise can mean demolish, by the way.
Right, you're right. Yes, I should have said elevating. So that's correct. Sorry.
Elevating their homes. And what's interesting is I was in the city of Punta Gorda in between Helene and Milton in those 9 days. And right off the bat, we had many homeowners that were wanting us to fight the 50% rule for them on certain situations. This is my own personal opinion. When it comes to the 50% rule, which is for flood zone homes that are in the flood zone, It's pay me now or pay me later. We are, especially in like the city of Punta Gorda, there's an article in our local newspaper. Punta Gorda has flooded as even in the 1800s. We are seeing it more. We unfortunately got hit with some storms during high tide. We had surges. We had the wave action that came in. So what we're probably looking at is it's not if you're going to get hit again, but when. We are dealing with more flooding for whatever you insert reasons here. So when you're looking at elevating your home, it's because you don't want to go through that flooding again. And if you don't raise your home, you probably will, and you're going to have to pay for it with buying all new assets for your house.
Yeah, and insurance, regular insurance doesn't cover that. So it's only flood insurance that covers when rising waters come in. And, that's one of the reasons, that's usually one of the big topics that we have when we come up here on the Hill. Mackenzie, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Which part? Where do you want to start with insurance? I mean, that's not a complicated thing at all. Yeah, the interplay and the overlap between traditional homeowners insurance and flood insurance can be really tricky to sort out. And insurance companies then can use the dispute to not pay claims quickly. One thing I'll also highlight for your traditional homeowners insurance policy is that actual replacement cost coverage versus the actual value replacement, where depending on the insurance coverage you have, they can either pay to replace the house entirely, or they can just pay you for what your house was worth. And a lot of people have that actual value coverage and not the actual replacement cost coverage, and they end up having a huge shortfall in what their insurance actually covers. So that's an issue. Determining if it's flood damage or storm damage and who pays, whether it's flood insurance or your homeowner's insurance, that's a really tough issue between insurance companies. And that's why the claims sometimes take forever to pay out. One other thing that I'm going to throw out there is that it's like a special add-on provision that you can have on homeowners insurance that will pay for rebuilding a home to current code, because that's often more expensive than what your original home was. So even if you have replacement coverage where it will totally replace the exact footprint of your house exactly as it was, sometimes even that will not pay to upgrade to the latest code. So all this to say, when you are selling homes, it's not your job to tell people about their insurance coverage, but if you can throw in a little, read your policy, know what your coverages are, know what your options are if that coverage isn't right for you, and being able to have those conversations with insurance adjusters, I think will serve buyers long term.
I'll also add multifamily. When you are in multifamily townhomes, condominiums, and you only need and I always forget the name of the acronym of what it actually is from the studs in kind of insurance. A lot of people are like, "Ooh, my insurance is only this amount of money," but they're not even factoring in all of those, that replacement cost, all of those things, their contents, right. And the parts. So it even gets more complicated. To make sure that you have the right amount, and that the HOA or whoever, every state does that slightly different with associations and association ownership there, but what that policy has. So in verifying that, but as salespeople, this is something that we do need to be more familiar with. So builders that are on, if your sales team, we need to educate your sales team. You need to bring in insurance companies and and let them really educate the sales team so that our buyers know what questions to ask and the importance of this, because FEMA, the way it is today, we can't, there is a goal of eliminating FEMA. And, I read in the news this morning, so states are going to have to pick up this shortfall, which means if your state is prone to a lot of stuff, how are we going to pay for it?
Right.
It's still got to be paid for somehow, right? So, counting on FEMA to come in and bail you out and not having appropriate flood insurance, or everybody having their own responsibility for having that right insurance, that may not be a thing.
Yeah, I would call that
Well,
hope.
the really good news is that the new stuff is not struggling with insurance or
Right.
disasters or terrible thing. Where we're getting hit is the older stuff can't sell to get to the new stuff. And the jack up houses after Katrina was $160,000, and they had to jack them up on the pylons it was cut on. And many of those houses they jacked up for $160,000 of your federal taxpayer dollars were worth $80,000.
Woo.
And so I constantly beat FEMA up and said, do not jack these houses up, knock them to the ground. Let us rebuild them to the new codes and let us build them higher. And we'll save money and give them a better product. So what they did is they literally took a house that was built before the codes, put it higher in the air, which now is more susceptible to wind
More,
damage,
yeah.
and spent taxpayer dollars doing it. It's the dumbest thing I ever saw. The other thing that happened with Katrina was all along the Gulf Coast, the homeowners insurance companies were deliberately putting the claims on the flood insurance. If you remember, the flood insurance program had $12 billion worth of claims out of Katrina, which broke the flood insurance program, which has never been the same. And now they're trying to make it up overnight with risk rating 2.0. So nobody wants to be forced to buy flood insurance. So nobody wants to live in a special hazard area, which means you get a letter of a map amendment. If you're in a special flood hazard area, take you off the maps, don't have to buy the flood insurance. Now, that's a terrible idea for flood insurance folks because they don't have people paying into the flood insurance program to offset the people they know are going to flood. So part of what we're doing here on Capitol Hill is trying to fix that. That risk rating 2.0 came out while I was an officer in NAHB, and I went and met with the gentleman that was responsible for it, who now runs the Institute for Business and Home Safety that does the fortified stuff, Roy, and literally stopped him from bringing it out back then because it was so unfair to the people that live closer to water. And then they got it out right in the middle of COVID. They brought it out, and we've got people that are paying $1,000 a month in escrows between their homeowners insurance and their flood insurance. Well, guess what? They can never sell that house. And so many people in Ida that had their houses flood for the third time where I live sold their houses cash to cash buyers, took their insurance and moved away. And those cash buyers came back out, put some paint on it and opened it up and started renting it out. And I'm sure they don't have any insurance on it. And that was a lot of people particularly in the area where I live, that happened. So selling new houses is easy from an insurance perspective and a resilience perspective, although we're paying a lot more for the ability to build those homes. So they're paying a bigger number going nowhere near what it is on the old stuff. But I could tell you, it's the codes work. Wildfires in California, there's pictures of one where there's two houses built to the wildfire code in California, and all the way around them is all scorched earth. These two houses are unscathed. So we know it works. Well, and that's the only thing that'll save California's insurance market.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mackenzie, can you talk a little bit more about California and that market? I know you've been very involved with that, through NHB, and it's not just wildfires like Randy mentioned. It's the drought, it's the seismic activity, it's everything going on about there. Just kind of, tell us your involvement in that and, the bright spots you see.
Well, California has had a really strong fire code for decades. Like they've really been pretty stringent in some of their regulations out there. Sometimes it makes it a little hard to build. But we are seeing that the newer homes built in California are surviving these fires better, like Randy said. Typically, it's the older homes, unfortunately, that suffer the most damage. And in America, we have a really old housing stock. Like more than half of Americans live in a house that was built before 1984. Like the average American home is over 40 years old. That means that the code was 40 years old. That means the stuff that's in the house, that's the structural components of that house, are 40 years old. it's just those are the houses that suffer the damage. So there's the building code in California that's pretty stringent, but building code isn't the end of the story, right? Like the building code sets the standard, the baseline, the thing that all houses have to comply with. But there's also these voluntary above code programs kind of all over the country that are more for hurricane wind fortified, which Randy mentioned, that you can build to and you can have better results. I know California doesn't have like a community risk standard yet that they're looking at, but it's something that they're kind of looking at because wildfires, it really does, what your neighbor does really does directly impact how safe your house is from fire. Like you can implement the most stringent fire like preparedness in your house. You can have the defensible space, you can have the fireproof siding, you can have your house made out of concrete. And look like that crazy house that Kanye West gutted that's just all concrete. But if the house next door is just overgrown with dead plants and has stuff right up against their house and it's all made out of wood, that can still significantly impact the damage to your property. So wildfire in California, I think they're going to sort of start, well, they already kind of are leading the charge in developing those standards and doing a little bit more than I think some of the other states in our country here.
I do know Fortified is working on a standard. And by the way, when I was at Home Innovation Research Labs, worked with HUD, they put together booklets for each disaster and what you could do to your house to prepare it for those disasters, which included fire was one book, wind was one book, flood was one book, and then the earthquakes was one book. And so what those books did and what we put in those books, and you get them on the HUD site, is we said, okay, this is the disaster. This is what the damage is from this particular disaster the most. And if you want to prepare your house for that, it costs X. And then we qualified how much each thing costs to do. And so it's pretty easy to read. It's got good pictures in it. It's they're really handy. It's on the HUD site. It's disaster resilience booklets. So you might want to reach out and get some of those because I know one for wildfire exists.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me that I always kind of chuckle at, and it's not something I should chuckle at, but it's something that's a little bit frustrating, is that we kind of know the things that make housing more resilient, right? Like we know we have a lot of resources available, and we know what it takes to make a house withstand these disasters better. And we also know that people will pay more for them. There was a report, a 2024 extreme risk, what is it? The extreme weather report from Morning Consult that said 73% of home buyers will pay more for a house that has these resiliency features in it, but less than half, well, about half of home owners are willing to do those upgrades ahead of time to make more on their house. So like, it's hard to get people to implement. And that's actually one of the things I like about Fortified is that it gives you money to start building more resilient roofing. So I would like to see that for fire, but it's hard to figure out how to fund those things.
Mackenzie, one of the things that I've learned through somewhere in between all the hurricanes, we play the construction lottery. We buy a lottery. It's like buying a lottery ticket and you scratch off and hope that you're going to win. When it comes to our home, we always look for the most valuable way to do something. I don't want to say cheapest. We look at saving as much money as we possibly can. The message that I like to put out is if your doctor told you that you needed heart surgery, would you look for the cheapest doctor out there? No, you would want the best. When it comes to fixing your home, you should be looking at the best codes, the best contractors. This is why you hire licensed contractors. With Florida, I'll play my Pollyanna, my sunshine. I feel that we're finally coming across, we're coming over the mountain now. We're getting up there. We have a lot more insurance companies that are coming in. If there's advice that I get, that I do, is one, insurance companies will give you a discount if you have a lot of these changes or these upgrades to your home. If you have newer impact windows, if you are built up, if you have the third nail put in, there are huge incentives. And when I speak with realtors about resale, that is one of the things. Have the home inspector give you a list of all of those items so that it can save money on insurance. But when it comes to insurance on the other side too, people many times they look, and I see it all over social media. My insurance company raised their prices again. Who can tell me another cheap policy? There is no such thing as a cheaper policy. It's less coverage.
Right.
Absolutely.
So this is the perfect time right now for people to sit down and look at their own insurance and speak and talk with their agent. If I'm hit with a hurricane, will this replace my home? Will this replace my roof? What will it cover my shed or lanai and back area? Those are the questions people should be having. But going back to what you were saying with the fortified, you're right. When we own a home, it's kind of like when you're a doctor, you're the worst patient. We look at it and think, okay, I could take care of that tomorrow. Today is tomorrow. When it comes to getting your home ready, especially for storms.
Yeah.
Well, and as the market right now, it really is the best time in the market because the new home premium is at the lowest point it's ever been.
Yep.
Used homes and new homes are almost priced identically right now across the country. So of all the times to have the advantage, even though, yes, it costs us more to build today. Yes, we have an affordability issue. Yes, people are stretched thin. Now is truly the time where you check that box on that new home advantage for people.
Right.
And Randy was talking about the homes that were just kind of, lipstick thrown on the pig to sell after a storm. Florida has state laws now that were put into effect. One was after Hurricane Charlie in, I think, 2005 or 6. If you do an owner builder or you do any of the work yourself, you cannot sell that home for a year.
Wow.
We also have a law, there's a state law too, when it comes to insurance that you cannot get a policy if you have a named storm within 100 miles. So right now, before the hurricane season starts, which is going to be active, this is the perfect time to look at your policy, review your policy, and get it ready.
Yeah, if we're in that box, that zone, you're not making a change to your insurance. You're doing nothing to you can't get a new policy. You can't change your policy. And the realtors get notifications on this. Because I am a licensed realtor, and a member of NAR too. I start getting the notifications when we're getting into the zone. The insurance companies send that out. Yes. A lot of our bigger home builders, their mortgage companies and the insurance companies they work with will also send them those notifications. But probably not a lot of our smaller builders have that kind of, I don't know if you have that kind of relationship for that sort of thing to know when that's coming. But I mean, it's not just Florida, look at North Carolina. We don't have anybody here from North Carolina, but North Carolina took the brunt of the storm last year with a flooding in the mountain. Like my dad always says, because he lives way up from Tennessee, he's like, if we get flooding here, it's going to be biblical. Well, it was biblical.
It was biblical.
It was absolutely biblical there. Like people that live on a mountain were suffering, and it was knocking down. It wasn't just the water, but it was also the debris and the runoff.
Volume,
yeah. I mean, it was just so much rain. So, I mean, we can say, hey, climate change isn't real if that's your thing and that's what you want to say. You can't deny what happens. You can't deny that the tornadoes that are moving further east now, Tornado Alley is moving further. And I know there's a cycle to these things, and it does. When I was a child growing up in Tennessee, we had tornadoes a lot, and then the tornadoes kind of went away, and you didn't see them a lot. And now they're coming back, so there is some cyclicalness to this. But tornadoes are now happening in Florida. We never got tornadoes before. You might have a water spout that sort of came ashore, and you might have a little whirling something, but not really like Midwest and these giant tornadoes that come through.
Yeah.
You
And
see it anywhere is my point.
Yes, I think you make a really good point. I mean, we've seen tornadoes and hurricanes in Georgia for as long as I've lived here, but it seems like we're seeing more of them now. And, I kind of wonder at what point the interest rate woes, or sorry, the insurance woes will come here and impact us as well. And, will codes change, for new homes here to start including some of those things. But, I guess kind of get back to Donna talking about impact windows and some of the other things. What are some of the specific features and upgrades that we should be educating our buyers about that we're putting in new homes now? I mean, I think that part of the challenge is buyers, maybe they know that new homes are built better, but I think we could do a bit better job of educating them as to why and what specifically they're buying.
I tell buyers when they go through my houses that the roof deck is sealed, that they won't have water intrusion in a storm if they lose all their shingle. 2, we've got this house strapped so well down to the foundation. No wall is going to bend, no wall is going to break, no wall is going to come apart. That the windows, if we don't use impact windows, but we have covers for the windows that we have to make to pass through the building code. So we show them how to put those on the windows. And actually the windows that we've been using when we pressure rated, we've had pretty good success with. But to one of Donna's comments was about the water going sideways. One of the big problems in Florida after a couple of storms is the water coming through the windows. So we tape up all the windows so that can't happen. And so, pretty much those houses are going to survive a storm with very little. And the other thing I tell people is you think your roof's going to last 30 years, but it's not. You're best to change your roof between 10 and 15 years because those shingles are gone after that. So, and you have a name storm deductible, the insurance company is not going to change the shingles. So you might as well get out to suffer. But the other thing is everything that comes out the roof, we brace so it won't blow off. And then we don't build in special flood hazard areas. And if we do, we put a 1-foot freeboard, which by the way, you know what freeboard is, right? When you're riding a boat, the distance from the water to the top of the boat, that's called freeboard. That's so the waves don't come in the boat. That's where FEMA got the word freeboard. So freeboard was meant to be used in places where you got storm surges like Florida because you had wave action. In Louisiana and New Orleans, for example, we don't have storm surges. We have rising water.
Right.
So but they just still make us build higher and higher and higher. And we have levees and pumps and all that in New Orleans that we use to keep the water off of us, which is sometimes successful and sometimes not.
Right.
But so those things are what you tell them, and I'm telling them your insurance policy on this new house is going to be something 2,000 or less. Whereas you go buy that used house down the street, your insurance policy is going to probably be $6,000 or $8,000
or more.
That turns your head pretty quick. And so
in Florida, it's about a 50% savings. So for your insurance, you can see up to 50%, and with that, and also about a 50% energy saving with our energy codes. So, that's for people who've never owned a home in Florida and they've never experienced a $500 or $600 utility bill in August and September. That can come as a real shock to people who are living month to month.
Right.
That's right.
And this is such a timely conversation because there's more resale homes on the market now than there have been in the last, 5 to 7 years. So our number one competitor as new homes is resale. So
always has been
really,
80%.
Always has been, but there weren't as many of them on the market the last few years. So we haven't had the competition that we have now. So now that we've got so many more resales on the market, it's really important for, our sales teams and our marketing teams to be educated on why new homes are better. Because, heck, even if you're not in an area that has fires or floods or hurricane, you're still in an area where you have people that care about energy efficiency. And our homes that are new are so much more energy efficient than those 40-year-old homes that we're competing with.
And if I could add on to that, Carol, you brought up some really good points there too. With the resale home, a lot of them are not built to the current code. It's not even just the price, it's the safety of your family. So many people stay in place, not just for hurricanes, but for any natural disaster. The smallest little opening in a door, if your door is not sitting correctly, if that door flies off during a hurricane, it can ruin the integrity of the whole home and it can crash.
Right.
And I don't want to play worst case scenario, but I'm giving you ideas of what the insurance companies have to look at. The same thing with the window. If a window cracks and water starts coming in, once again, you just ruin the integrity of that wall. And the roof, we had insurance was looking at not wanting to cover homes if your roof was more than 10 years old. This was back in 2021, 2-ish, somewhere around there.
I had to replace a roof before I moved in 2020. We sold our house, and there was nothing wrong with it. Had it fully inspected, not a nail out of place. The roof was absolutely fine. Had to replace it, but just because people couldn't get insurance on a 20-year-old roof.
Yeah. Well, so when you're looking at the resale, and here's another thing, and I don't know, maybe Mackenzie, you may know this, maybe Carol or Kimberly too. In the state of Florida, they have a 210 warranty on a home. So for the first 2 years, everything is covered by the builder, with the exception of if a hurricane comes and ruins something. And then you have 10 years for structural. And I bring this up that for me, when you're looking at buying a new home, to have that warranty versus an as is, and you never know. I've heard people who bought a brand new home put every dime into the resale. A week later, their plumbing goes. And that is up to that new homeowner. There's nothing you can do. So if a home is still under warranty, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. We just had some interference.
But if you have that home buyer warranty on top of having that insurance, that is another reason to build that home or to buy a newer home.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to flag one resource NHB has here, just to take a little bit away from the doom and gloom, like even putting aside like the safety, resiliency, structural integrity of the house component. There are like, there are, what is the word that I'm thinking of? Energy efficiency. There are energy efficiency components of homes that are already desirable to buyers, that they're familiar with, like Energy Star rated windows, appliances, whole home ratings, triple insulated glass that buyers already really want and are familiar with. So just a shameless plug here is that NAHB has this resource called What Home Buyers Really Want that we came out with in 2024. It's available on Builder Books. It does go into different features and how desirable they are to our respondents. So if you're interested in that kind of information for like the features that people already really want that can help their homes be more resilient and to be more efficient, that resource is available. And I see that Carol put that in the chat if anybody's.
Why don't you give them some of those top stats, because there's some pretty significant responses.
So 83% of respondents said that Energy Star rated windows were desirable. Of that, 32% said they were essential or must-haves. The top three are Energy Star. So it's Energy Star rated windows with 83%, Energy Star rated appliances with 80%, Energy Star rating for the whole home, 78% said that it was desirable or an essential must-have. Fourth was triple pane insulating glass windows. Then fifth, energy efficient lighting that uses less energy than traditional light bulbs. 74% said that was desirable. A lot of these are fuel or energy efficiency, but really do kind of go into this concept of a greener home or a resilient home. They're just little things that you can do to make a house, little features that you can highlight that make a house more desirable. And I think are probably more common on new homes than existing homes, but there's lots of things that you can do to make a new home stand out.
So many things, and that's where I really think our salespeople have to be educated on this. In a normal market, and who knows when we've had a normal market. I mean, some people say 2019. I would argue that wasn't a normal market. So
2006 maybe.
Yeah. So when that wasn't, because that was the run.
That wasn't
so
either.
It's really 2002 maybe the last normal market that we had. So, but in normal time, 80% of your competition are used homes.
Oh yeah.
And they're not resales, they're used home salespeople and sales leaders. But use those words because we are new. And new is bright and shiny, but it does also mean these, most of the builders are using, even if they don't build to Energy Star specifications, they are using many of these components, some of them by code. But hey, even if it's code, you don't get credit for it if you don't talk about it. So, and anything you're doing beyond code, you should definitely talk about.
Only thing Energy Star that we're not doing in the code is the washer, which we don't supply. And we have to order a dishwasher that meets the Energy Star requirements. Everything else is already there,
right,
for the most part. So I don't know how much more you can improve the energy efficiency of the houses, especially the new houses. Mm-hmm. But there's plenty you can do in used houses to get them sold. One is change the garage door out to a better garage door. Because if it comes in, the whole house is coming down. Double doors swing out instead of swing in. Get covers for the windows. There's a thing you can do in your attic with closed cell insulation where you close up the joints and so the water can't come in. Fortified's got a method of doing that, IBHSS. And a lot of people will do that. And that way they won't have to change your roof as fast because you got the water, keeps the water from coming inside your house. But there's some things the older houses can do. But my buyers usually tell me, I want a house with my own dirt in it.
Yes. Yeah, I don't want anybody else's fingernails in the carpet, right?
Right.
So one of the things, Donna, I don't know why I'm having a mental block here. And I know you're walking and talking here, but the last hurricane that we had, this was the worst hurricane I've ever lived through in Florida, but the rain came down we have hurricane shutters, and the rain coming down the windows, it was like being inside of Niagara Falls for about 3 hours. I have never seen sheets of rain come down on the windows like that. And, homeowners have a responsibility even with new homes. So Donna brought up warranty. I wanted to touch on our salespeople also need to educate buyers. I know in my community, in our Facebook group, I was telling people, get those windows caulked. It's hurricane season. You're responsible for caulking your windows every year. And while you're at it, you've got somebody caulking windows. Why don't you have them recaulk your showers? Because showers can leak too. So I always say we build for wind, water, and termites in Florida. So, and if I tell the realtors, if somebody asks you why we do this, it's wind. So we get significant wind events. They're called hurricanes. But just even straight line winds, you get crazy, afternoon storms, and it'll rain sideways in Florida for hours at a time.
Here's the one thing we have to remember. Natural disasters are not predictable.
Nope. Yes.
If I've learned anything over the course of the 55,000 storms I've been through in 5 minutes is one, you can predict. When you think of hurricanes, some people think of wind, some people think of water. It is everything. I have gone through storm surge. I have gone through wave action. I have gone through Category 5 storms. I've gone through hail and even tornadoes. Nothing is predictable because even no matter how you can protect that house, you can't promise that a tree or a branch is going to fall on the house or a neighbor's lanai that was not done correctly and the pole comes out and hits your roof. You have to prepare in so many ways. We can look at the water. We can look at the rain. Have a home inspector come and assess your home. Have a builder come that focuses on repairs after hurricanes or storms or natural disasters to help make sure that they are covering or uncovering every stone to make sure your home is as perfect as possible to go through the next disaster.
And it is homeowner responsibility. I mean, I think sometimes buyers buy a new home and think, oh, I don't have to do anything because it does have a warranty, or I don't have. No, there's still maintenance. It's like when you buy a new car, it has a warranty on it, right? But you still have to change the oil. You still have to put gas in it. You still have to make sure your tires are in working order. I mean, there are things that you still have to do. for safety. And I think our salespeople, I don't think we're educating them. And a lot of them are pretty new. Most of our salespeople came into the industry since 2019. So they don't know all of these things. And we forget that we need to educate, and sending them out to shadow with your other salespeople and not really training them is not a recipe for success. You really need to have a very strategic plan to do this, unless you're the one selling your homes, and some of our builders are, I understand.
If I can give any advice, some of the moments that I remember the most after Hurricane Ian were the realtors, were the builders who went that extra step. They shared with me thank you notes that they actually received from homeowners, thanking them for being safe. I did the same thing for my roofer. I got a brand new roof 2021. But take that time, because at the end of the day, life is not just about the money that you make. It is about the connections and knowing what you can do for your community and for your customers. Take that extra step to protect them, and no matter what the disasters are.
It's great advice.
That is great advice. I love that. Well, we are getting closer to the top of the hour, so let's go around and have some final thoughts. And I know Carol promised in her write-up that I was going to do a thing about objections, so I better sharpen my objection handling skills here. So I'll wrap up with that.
We'll wrap up with objections. Okay.
Yeah, let's start with Mackenzie. What are your thoughts here?
Oh goodness, like just final thoughts or final tips. Okay. The thing that I always talk about is insurance. Know your coverage, know what options you have, know what it's going to cost you, but really don't be afraid to go look at the nitty gritty, because that's where all the insurance coverage disasters happen. It's in the tiny little details. But I guess for builders, for marketers, just understand your area, do what makes sense for your area. Understand what people expect from a new home, or like even a for sale used home. Understanding your market's going to be the key to any success that you have. I mean, you want to give people what they want, and do what makes sense for them.
Great advice. Randy?
Well, I mean, I would say buy a new home. That solves most of your problems. But obviously, I'm a little biased. But the insurance companies do some magical things right after a storm. Name deductibles, that covers their new roof. Saying they don't want to pay to bring you up to code. It's all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, insurance companies don't want to pay claims. They want to collect premium. And if your home is such that it's going to get damaged in a storm, you're going to pay more for your insurance premium, because they're going to have to pay for that. And why people don't fix their houses that they live in that are older is because they're waiting for the storm and get the insurance money to fix their houses. That's usually too late. And so between energy efficiency and the resilience of the new houses built in the new codes, and we're pretty well covering that in places that we need to cover that. I think we're in good stead. I mean, and the only thing I think, well, when we were in 2020, we had the best year of our life. We had 2% interest rates. We had COVID. We still were building. Kids were leaving downtown because they didn't want to live anymore downtown. They wanted to actually buy a house that they could live in instead of living in an apartment. So it was the best year we ever had. And since COVID and since the inflation that we've had, it's been downhill ever since. Because the price of housing, I mean, where I used to sell a $350,000 house is $450,000 now. That knocks a lot of people out of the market. And until the wages catch up, we're just going to be a little slow. But the resilience is there, the energy efficiency is there for the new houses. And then, like I said, the older homes, little by little, they're going to be taken, either knocked down and rebuilt, which we see a lot of going on. And we're going to change that market.
Yeah, there's a lot of market forces right now for sure. And, when the interest rates tick down even slightly, the demand is there. People want to buy, and I think people are really starting to see the advantage of new. So, but we can't take that for granted, as salespeople. Donna, I know you're walking and talking and waiting. Are you waiting on some sort of transportation? So let's get you before you jump in there.
Home ownership is the American dream. I'm unmuted, right? Yeah. Home
Yeah, you're
ownership
good.
is the American dream. We wake up, we want to own a home. Be smart when you sell that house, whatever it may be. Protect them and remember that you don't want them to, when they have that dream become a reality, you don't want it to be something where it ends up being like an anchor. Help them as best as you possibly can with some of the tips that you learned today, I hope. And keep selling those houses.
So, which, the market, yeah, we got headwinds in the market right now. I mean, that's one of the reasons that NAHB is up here for legislative conference, which if you've never done, I'm going to give a shameless plug for NAHB. Truly, when I understood the whole point of being part of the National Association of Home Builders was coming to LegCon for the first time. Like this, IBS is fun, going to the International Builder Show, and I mean, it's amazing, and that's the touchy-feely glitz and glam of the industry. This is why we do what we do. So shameless plug for that. Get up here next year when we do it, or when go with your state, go with your local when they do the things there too, because together we really can impact this industry. So that's why we have our associations. But just really quick to the overcoming objections. So first of all, you got to have the traffic. You got to have the buyers to be able to have these conversations and get real with them. We can't be afraid to encounter an objection, because an objection is nothing more than an unanswered question. And sometimes your buyers won't voice it. So the number one step in the 6 steps to overcoming objections is to hear the objection. Well, if your buyer isn't vocalizing that, or they have concerns about flood, or they may not think you're the right person to have those conversations with, and builders and sales leaders, this is where we can shine, when we can hear those objections and we even bring them up. The best way to head off an objection is to deal with it before it's vocalized, and make sure that your buyer has that buy-in. But you hear the objection, we talk about it. We want to hear what the buyer has to say. It's about them at the end of the day. So we hear it, we repeat it, and we question it to make sure that we are really getting to the meat of where their concerns are. It's not just what we think. When I have a salesperson says, well, I told them, or I told them this, or, I know this is important, so I shared this with them. I said, but did you ask them about it? Make sure you're asking. Mm-hmm. Because when you ask, the buyer will help you to see it's their trail of breadcrumbs. So we hear the objection, repeat the objection, and question the objection before we handle the objection. Everybody wants to launch right into step 4, which is handle the objection with your pre-planned response. And, it's not about responding. It's about listening and having a dialogue with people. And really, truly, Donna and I experience this every day. Randy, I'm sure you do too, with people are afraid to move to Florida, that they're concerned. And then we've got, everybody thinks an alligator is going to come in their house at night, So, yeah, and I'm like, that's the least of your worries in Florida. So you've got to really connect with your buyers. Now there are people who want to buy homes, but we have to connect with them. And again, if you'll do those steps, then you can handle the objection and then ask them, is that okay? Are they all right with the solution that you've proposed? And if they are, ask, is there anything else that's keeping us from moving forward today? Because when we're asking that question and we're helping our buyers right now, guess what? They're buying because they feel heard. And that's all they wanted.
That's beautiful. Yes.
They just
my battery's fixing to die, guys. So see you later.
Well, we're
right at the top of the hour, right on time. Yep. So good luck with all of that. And thank you, Donna and Randy, especially on the go. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye, everybody. We will get this out. We'll get the recording out so you can share it with your teams. Of course, we'll share it on our socials, and we'll share it to everyone who registered with us, too. So thanks a lot. And Mackenzie, thank you. It's all right. She's here. She's still here. She didn't leave us. All right. Thanks,
All
Carol.
right.
We miss
Thank
you. Wish you were
Nice
here.
to see you. Well, enjoy DC. It's always so pretty in the, I don't know. I like it in the spring. I guess it's summer now, huh?
A little bit, but it is beautiful.
Well,
All right.
enjoy. Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.